Okay. Waiting for Lyle to get in here. This is episode number 3 of Butcher and Barrel. Myself at Whiskey Darcy with Highland Park, US, and my good friend Lyle Wheeler at Southeast Butcher, currently cutting at Flock and Herd. He's coming on his way in now, and together we're covering knives today. So Lyle's going to take us through how to look after your knife at home, probably in a much greater way and to a greater extent than I can. And here we are. Hello, Lyle.
Hey, dude.
There we go. Make sure my volume's up. How you doing?
Good, and you?
Yeah, not so bad, thanks. Bit of a challenge getting in there to start.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for Whiskey Darcy and I forgot we were going to Butcher and Barrel.
So I was saying,
all good.
episode 3, we're looking at knives today, and more specifically, I guess it's knife care. If you want to just talk us through what it is you're going to take us through.
I'm going to take you through keeping on top of your knives. I've brought my butchery knives with me, so I've got my 6-inch boning knife, semi-flex here. I use F-Dick, a great company out of Germany. This is what I use for boning things out, so like taking the vertebrae out of the chucks and forequarters, things like that. I've got my stiff edge 6-inch. This is for what I use for skinning out pork and things like that, so taking the rind off of the pork for the sausages, things like that. That's what I use that one for. And then I have my big curved steak knife. So this is for chopping up like primals or dicing beef to go into the mincer or cutting like your steaks for it. So that's a nice long, sharp, one-stroke kind of knife. Go on.
So at some point, I guess there's a lot of stuff that you just said in there that I'm like, actually, I don't know what on earth you're talking about. Like, general idea.
Yeah.
But when you say skinning, like, yes, I get the idea, but I don't really know what that entails. So note to self for future, make sure that we get back to that, because I would love to know what on earth it is you're talking about and see that in action.
Okay, yeah, we can do a little episode on... Okay.
What's this?
That's like a chef's knife, which is perfect because I've got my mum's, which is very dull. And I say dull, not blunt, because that's like terminology. So it's either a dull knife or a sharp knife. So there we go.
Got it. Right. This is a dull knife.
That's a dull knife. I remember watching you try and chop a chicken up with that last week, and that was a very dull knife. So, just you can probably notice this has got little bumps along the side of it. You see, just a little extra. It's called an escalloped knife. So if you're slicing potatoes, things like that, it gives a little friction so it doesn't get stuck to the knife. So sometimes when you slice with that, maybe you get like cucumber or things stuck to the edge of the knife. This kind of aids in releasing that so it doesn't get stuck.
What is it, just less surface area so it can slip past it kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
All right. So what are we using to do this today?
I mean, air pocket behind it. So that's great. You've got the same.
Great.
Yeah. You've got a steel there, which is great. I've got, obviously, a much better steel there. That's like a very coarse. I can see it's really coarse, that steel. This is a really fine steel because I don't use my steel to sharpen my knife, because that's not a sharpening steel, that's a honing steel. And this is a honing steel. So you're honing the edge after you've got it sharp already.
Ah.
So I'm going to talk about some whetstones now.
Okay.
I don't think, if you don't really look after your knives, you might not have whetstones yourself. So I'll just quickly run you through these. There's like different grades. I've been soaking these for a while now. If you can see that, this is really risky, holding my phone over a bucket of water, but never mind. I've got 3 different sets here. This is like 1,000 grade and below. So that's really coarse. That's for like really damaged knives with like chips on the edge, and you're just trying to get that really good edge back on there. So that's for like a damaged knife. So you're just kind of like you're fixing that. Okay. So that's not what you use to sharpen it. It's just to get it back into its shape. Then we move up. This is like between 1,000 and 4,000. Can you see that there? That's a lot smoother. And then we'll move on to, which is actually quite a cool little stone here. This is actually my great granddad's cutthroat razor whetstone. So this
That's
is
awesome.
like 6,000 to 8,000 grade. So that's like what you finish on. So that's like a really sharp finishing edge. That is smooth as anything. So yeah, they're the different grades that I have, but you can get obviously different grades. This one's very small. It's usually a lot bigger than this, but I like the nostalgia of it. I quite like the
Yeah.
story behind it. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess we get going. I talk you through
Yeah.
how to kind of put an edge
Before you,
back on a knife.
yeah, before you get going, can I just ask a couple of questions? I guess first
Yeah.
off, is there much point doing the is there much point to do you really need whetstones to do this? If so, is it quite a big investment? Is it quite a big investment in your time to figure out? Or it's like, no, you can do this at home. You can do this,
Yeah, you can do this at home, and I think it's quite nice that people do start doing this at home again, because you say you take it to a shop to get it sharpened, they might not always be open, or it's quite therapeutic once you get going. And if you get a good edge on your knife and you get yourself a decent honing steel,
Okay.
just every time you use it, give it a couple of like strokes on the knife like this. Obviously, I make it look very easy because I do it every day, a lot. But some people hold their steel like this, which is fine because you have this guard at the end. So if you do overstrike, your knife will hit that as opposed to the fingers. Some people hold it like this, so they're coming away. I've never got on with doing it like that. But yeah, there's loads of different ways. But I think if you can teach yourself how to sharpen a knife at home, crack on with it, because there's nothing more satisfying than having a really sharp knife when you're cooking. It makes it a lot easier. It's a lot safer. So
I'm really glad you said when you're cooking as well.
Yeah. Yeah, when you've got your 4/4 on the block at home and you're cutting your way through it. Yeah.
Okay, take us there.
Pardon?
Take us there. What do we do?
Okay, perfect. Right. This is, like I said, like yours. This is a Henkel. It's another German brand. Good knives, good steel, but they're not like hand forged. They're just stamped. Pretty blunt. It's not going through paper at all. So I'm going to take out my really coarse stone on this just to get a good edge back on. I'm going to point the camera down.
Great.
At the stone here. So let's have a little look. Here we go.
Perfect.
I always start. So put the knife flat on the stone like this. So that's a 90 degree. Split the difference, so you get 45. Split the difference again at another 45, and that's your kind of set bar here. You can get guides and things that you clip onto the knife, and that keeps that angle for you, so you don't have to do much with it. But yeah, so get that angle going. Put a bit of water on top so it's really covered with water. And like I said, I've been soaking these for a good 30 minutes until all of the air bubbles have stopped coming out of the stones, and that's when you know that your knives are ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to start at the heel of the knife, which is down this part, and just at that angle, just push it forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, applying a little bit more pressure on the back stroke because that's the angle of the burr that you want to be hitting. Forward and back, forward and back. I go up one edge and back down like that, and then flip it over. There's that 90 degree, split the difference, split it again, up, back, up, back, up, back, up, back. My towel's slipping all over the place, so I'm just going to dunk that, get that wet.
Actually, while you're doing that, just like general safety things, like the way in which you're holding the knife and things like that, any tips that you've just kind of like found and to be useful over time?
Yeah, just spread your fingers a lot so you've got a good range of surface area on that. Like, don't put your hands here. That's mental. That's crazy. But just have it at the back of the knife, kind of your little finger on the edge of the back of the tang, and just slowly push it forward and back. Just go really slowly. Like, the slower that you go, the easier. You don't need to put a load of force into this at all, actually. And we're not going to spend much time on this stone because this knife hasn't got chips or anything in it. It's just a little bit too dull for cooking.
And is this
Right,
literally
slicing
just
your veg.
scraping away the metal edging of
Yeah,
the
exactly. You're
plate
literally
itself?
just putting an edge back onto it. Like, just putting another edge back onto that thing. Because over time, how can I explain this? Over time, you're rounding that edge, that sharp edge here, because we're trying to make it into a triangle again.
Yeah.
And over time, cutting into a plastic chopping board or a wooden chopping board. Well, I hope no one's using a marble chopping board to chop onto. That's your pastry one, so don't use that for chopping veg on. Or glass, your knives will be knackered.
I've definitely
Yeah.
encountered that in someone's house before, and I
Yeah.
was trying to use their knife to cut something, and then I was like, why
Yeah.
on earth are these knives awful? And then I realized when I saw this cutting board come out, there was like, oh yeah, it's just an offcut of our old marble. It's really nice. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
Wow.
not leaving cuts in the marble. It's definitely dulling your knife.
Yeah, exactly. But no, yeah. So we're just rubbing this up and down again. Perfect. So once you've rubbed it up and down a couple of times on both sides at that angle, from the heel of the knife, keeping that split angle of the 45, we're just going to do one continuous stroke like that. Yeah?
All right.
Flip it over and come it back towards you. Obviously, you're cutting towards yourself. Please be careful. Okay? If you're bringing your knife towards any part of your body at all. It's a big no-no, but when you're doing this, you have to. Otherwise, you have to swap your hand. I'm not ambidextrous. I can't do it. So I just pay big attention and just do it slowly. You just want to get that full range of that blade. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this at all. Push it forward.
And these are all forward strokes from the, did you say what was it? Is it the heel?
The heel to the tip.
Okay. And they're all forward strokes from tip to tip, from heel to tip.
Yeah. And it's just one continuous one. Running the whole. So the idea is I'm always pushing on the stone so the whole blade gets a surface scratch on that
Got it.
block.
And how do you know when you're moving on to the next stone?
You can kind of like, I don't know if you felt a really dull knife, it's just really soft edge, but you can start to, with your fingerprint, you can start to feel a little grip in that, on that burr.
Got it.
I mean, like it's coming there now already, I can feel it already. So I'll give it a couple more strokes on here. And then I'll move on. And we can always come back if we don't think it's ready once we get onto the next knife.
Got it.
So I reckon that's about all right on that stone there. So it doesn't take a lot. And just keep this cloth wet because you don't want it sliding around. Like,
Right.
I'm back at mum and dad's because it's the first day that lockdowns have been relaxed over here in the UK. And
Oh, so you could actually drive.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dad's got a very good job of polishing this table so it's slippy as anything. But right, so as you can see, I don't know if you saw on that other stone, the water just got sucked straight into it straight away.
Got it.
That one's kind of pooling on top. You see that?
Yeah.
So that's obviously, it's got a tighter grip. The water's not, it's not as porous. So it's just sitting on there a lot more. So exactly the same technique. We're going to start with from the heel, forward up, forward up.
And how much are whetstones typically running? Do you know?
I mean, like entry level, you can get them for like 30 quid, 40 quid. So what's that? $50, $60?
Yeah. Would that be a full set?
You'll get one. No, well, you could get one. What's quite good, I didn't show you actually. Well, you can't really see because I've had this so long. There's a green. Can you see it there?
Okay, so different grits on different sides.
Yeah, so they sandwich it together. So you get. So you might try and aim to get one that's like 1,000 grit, and then it going up to like a 6,000 grit on the other side. Yeah, or you can go. Like some of the Japanese whetstones are amazing. They go up to like 10,000, but they'll cost you about 10,000. Obviously not that much, but yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So the sky's your limit, really. But like, and don't expect to be able to get this overnight. You know, this took me a long time to get the hang of this.
Right.
But it's just an idea. There's loads of YouTube videos out there. I mean, like this will be one to come and come and think. What are you drinking, by the way, Darcy? We're getting it.
Yeah, I just saw that question come in. I mean, you can guess who it is I'm drinking. I'm having Highland Park. It's a single cask It's one that we have in the Northeast. I mean, there's only like 560 odd of them, but it was a 12-year that was first fill European oak sherry puncheons. So, I mean, it's going to be reversed on YouTube, but it's called Riptide. Otherwise, I've not really jumped into it for a little while, so it's nice just to sit back and watch you work, and I can have a dram in the meantime.
Nice. So is that something that we can get online and things, that whiskey?
No.
No?
No. I'm planning on putting together a little mini kit and shipping it out to you so that we can do some things, because I would like to take an episode through talking about cask types and then see how you fare doing it blind. Not to put you on the spot, but just to because it's a lot like wine, right? Once you understand a lot of the makeup of, like, okay, well, what kind of still shape and size, what type of cask are being used, maybe how old it is, or maybe where it's been aged, I can give you clues about, or like give you the information about each cask. I thought it'd be fun to go through a tasting together to try and see if we can actually pick out the reasons why. And I can ask Sean to mix up the different vials, so I don't know which is which as well.
Yeah, nice. That'd be really cool, because sometimes, like, when I go and do tastings and things, like, people are riddling off all these different flavors that they're tasting in their mouths and things, and nose and stuff. And I'm like, really? I really need to, like, hone my senses and taste on it. I think I just need to be a bit more educated on it, because it's quite a hard little industry to get into, right?
I think it's just practice. Like, I saw that you just got the what was it? It's the wine map, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just practice. No, like you said, no one's going to sit down at a whetstone for the first time and magically do this and go, because it's like, oh wow, I can cut a piece of paper in half whilst it's falling through the air. I mean, it's all a practice and a discipline.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to do that after this, by the way. You know that? I made a samurai sword.
So one thing you did touch upon, I think, when you were mentioning the Henkel, it's funny because I know that this is a Henkel as well. You did say about it not being, did you say not being hand forged?
Yeah.
So obviously cost implications, I'm presuming quality implications. Could you just talk us through, like, what it is, different styles of manufacturing and things like that?
Okay. I mean, like, I started using, because I used to chef quite a bit back home. Henkel was my go-to knife. It's just, they're great knives. Really solid stainless steel. I don't really like globals. That's another quite a mass-produced knife. That's all stamped out as well. So that's just a sheet of stainless steel, and they stamp it out. It's obviously been hardened. I really enjoyed Henkel. I think they're a good knife. But there is different types of knives that you can get. I've got a brand that I use just because they're really great quality knives. And they're Damascus steel, and they're made by Blenheim Forge, just down in Peckham.
Oh no!
You must have, they've become pretty big now. They're really nice guys, really great guys.
I mean, I'm only aware of them because of any of the pictures that I see you throw up.
Yeah. But no, there's loads of, like, decent knives makers out there now. Like Fingal Ferguson, a guy over in West Island. He's my dream knife to be made by, but that's like a 5-year waiting list now. They're really cool. There's Stark knives.
Are you on the waiting list?
No, I'm not on the waiting list.
Put yourself on the waiting list. What are you waiting for?
I guess I got time to save up, because they're pretty pricey, as you can imagine. Like, it's the time that goes into them. It's like, you can have loads of different steels put in there. Like, there's nickel, there's stainless steel, there's loads of other different types, and they make some really nice patterns. You get like a feathered pattern on there, things like that. It's really nice, really cool knives. But yeah, I mean, like, find the right knife for you. I think. Like, I'd love an Oatley knife that's based over in Australia. Yeah.
So I see you're
down in New York.
I see that you're on the finest stone now.
Yeah.
You're re-wetting it. So this is the last step before then you're getting to honing. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think I might have jumped a little bit early, so we might go back in a minute and have a little look at what else we've got. If I need to put another edge, I'll just check it with a piece of paper, because that's kind of like my go-to kind of check. Or, well, I haven't got alopecia.
I know the bald patches on your arm are always due to you checking knife edges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Rocky Red. That is it's an heirloom. It's my great granddad's cutthroat razor stone. That's why it's so small. Like I said at the beginning, it's not ideal, but I like the story behind it. So it's pretty cool. I like it.
And will a whetstone run its course? Like how do you break or wear out a whetstone? Does it not really happen? Is it a one-time investment for the most part?
No, it does wear out. Like you see a bow in that a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. You can get whetstone flatteners that just scrape off, they
Okay.
flatten it out there.
Yeah.
But I can use the other side. But then if I use the other side, then I know it's gonna die a lot quicker. But
Right.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I will be sad when this one goes, but I won't throw it away.
Yeah.
Just sit on the side.
Yeah.
And also, I'm a little bit tight. I don't want to buy a new one. So. Yeah. I mean, I can't remember what I was saying just before that.
I mean, I can see at this point, even just watching for this period of time, it does become quite mesmerizing. I can see how it would be a therapeutic thing. And honestly, I know things are easing up, but what else have you got better to do? Sit at home, sharpen your knives,
Exactly. I mean, like, your neighbours will think you're like, I was sat in my back garden in London the other day, and I just came home from work and started sharpening my knives in the back garden. I swear my neighbours thought I was a psycho or something. Just like all lined up along the table, and just spent about an hour just out there just sharpening them all.
Yeah. Any just in the interest of time, are there any recommendations when it comes to honing steels? What to look for, what not to look for? It doesn't have to be brand specific, or it can be, but if there's things that you just particularly like or have found useful.
Try and go for like a nice fine, and well, if you go for a coarse steel, you're going to have to get another steel as a soft steel to hone your knife, because the coarse steel, that would be a sharpening steel. So like you can get something like a diamond steel, which is very aggressive on your knife, and if you use it all the time on a very expensive knife, you'll rip through it because it just shaves off loads of your knife.
Okay. The curse of being out in the countryside there, Lyle. It looks like your internet connection stopped for a second.
No, I've been on Instagram too long. I kind of set myself time limits on Instagram, and I went over. So, so if a diamond steel will rip your knife because it takes a really big angle off as you stroke with it. So if you go for one of those, you need to get a smooth steel as well to hone your knife after you've done it.
It sounds like that would almost be an option if you weren't going to use a whetstone. Then would that be fair?
Exactly.
If you weren't going to whetstone, you're going to get a diamond that's going to scrape off. Which actually leads me, I guess, into probably my last question. So there is obviously the those little like commercial. That's not true. Just like for at-home use pieces that you pull your knife through. What does that do? What's that about?
What's that? Sorry, I missed that.
You know those little things that I think they're probably more like consumer-friendly devices. You hold it down, pull your knife through it. What's that doing?
That is just keeping an edge on your knife. So if you get a nice sharp knife, and you just bought a knife, for example, that just sticks to the burr of the knife already. That's already forged. So that will if you just stroke it through that a couple of times before you use it every time, that'll be ideal. That will keep a nice edge for a long time before having to recondition your knife and start again. But that's great because that takes all like the human error out. It's got a set edge. So
right. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
There's loads like that. They're quite expensive though. Like you can get different grades. A lot of slaughtermen use them because they can just stick it on the side of their belt and like have it there, and you just pull a few strokes through and you're good to go again.
That sound of that absolutely terrifies me. I do not want that hanging from my belt.
But no, it's good.
Lyle, I think that we're probably nearing our time. I know that it might be skipping ahead, but would you be able to show us how you do use the steel? And I know that you'll have to go back and probably re-stone this some more afterwards anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Let me. I kind of hope I'm there. This is gonna be really embarrassing if I can't do this.
No, it just means it's been a long time since you've been up and have been looked after your mum's knives.
Yeah, and I'm sitting down right there. I'm going to stand up because otherwise I'm going to chop my chest in half or something. So the same principle. Heel of the knife.
Yeah.
That same angle, so 90, 45, and then 25. And you're just going to just do stroke it down. Slower. It's not about speed. And you want to
If
hit...
you're applying a lot of pressure there, are you really just kind of allowing it to catch and stroke down the side?
Just letting gravity do it. Just letting gravity take the side of the blade.
Got it.
Because you want an even edge on both sides.
Right.
You know?
Right. Right. You could achieve a very an equilateral triangle so that one side's just slowly becoming paper thin, I guess.
As much as you can, because the idea is just trying to put the narrowest point on the edge. So it's all about surface area, you know?
Right.
So like the smaller surface area, the less pressure you have to push through to cut through something, right? So, but yeah, you can speed it up once you get a bit more competent, but just take your time, because no one likes having cuts on their hands.
Yeah, that would be awful to watch you do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is all right. I think. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a lot better than when we started.
It's better than watching me try and use a knife against a chicken, or what you started with that.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's good.
Okay, so I guess you can send things to a butcher if you've got a brand new to someone who's going to put an edge back in your blade. If you've already got a brand new knife and it's looking good, you can just pull it through one of those mouse traps quickly and just keep that going for a little while. After that, diamond, steel, you can carve off an edge and then you can sharpen on that, finer grain. Otherwise, we're talking about coarse to fine whetstones, and then getting it back onto your steel.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I think Aaron asked about a bread knife. I wouldn't put a bread knife on a whetstone. You don't really need to, because it's not about. That's more of a sawing action as opposed to a slicing action. So just if your bread knife is really blunt, just give it a couple of hits on the steel, and that should put enough of the edge back onto it. So I wouldn't try and go through the whole process with a bread knife, because a bread knife is only sharp on one side. It's a bit like a samurai sword, because it's serrated.
Oh, right, it's flat on one side and then it's I've never really thought about that. You're right.
Yeah, so try and you don't really need to sharpen it that much like that. If it is getting really, really blunt, give it a little hit with the steel. I do it a couple of times, and it should be good to go.
Great. Yeah. Well, thanks, mate. I think that's probably the end of our time. Any other little tips, tricks, or thoughts about how to look after your knives? Storage afterwards. How do you store it?
Storage. If you've got stainless steel, that's fine. Just wash it up afterwards. You can leave it on the side. It won't rust. But if you go out and buy an expensive knife, wash it, dry it, oil it. Okay?
What oil?
Otherwise, if you leave it on your draining board or in your rack, it will rust, and you've spent a lot of money and you've just ruined your knife. And don't put them through the dishwasher, because the heat will start bending and it will blunten your knives.
Got it.
And the handles, if you've got wooden handles, they'll just get knackered. So
Love it. Well, thank you so much. Cheers, Lyle. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Same time next week, we'll start posting out what it is we'll be getting to. And much love. I'll catch you in a bit.
All right, dude. Much love. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.